I'm going to read verses 10 through 12. And on the 7th day of the feast, this continued party that they're having, when King Xerxes was high in spirits as well as other things, like wine, he told the 7 eunuchs who attended him, and I'm not going to give all the names here. It's not really important, is it? Muhammad, Biztha. Yeah, I know. I made Mr. Curtis over there do it all, so a couple Sundays ago. Harbona, Bigtha, Abatha, Zethar. I did practice these too. And Carcass, we'll call him Carcass, that's a name. To bring Queen Vashti to him. These are eunuchs that are in charge of his harem. Bring Vashti to him with a royal crown on her head. He wanted the nobles and all the other men to gaze at her beauty, for she was a very beautiful woman. But when they conveyed the king's order to her, the queen, she refused to come. This made the king furious, and he burned with anger. So, that's where we pick up. So, this is the situation that we have. This is King Xerxes. He's over Persia. Persia is a huge empire. They conquered Egypt. They conquered the Babylonians. The Jewish people at that time had been in Babylonian captivity. Many of them were ushered back to home, to Judea, by another, I can't remember his name right off, but about 50,000 of them left the area, went back to the area of Judea. But some obviously stayed behind because for various reasons. 2 of these people were Mordecai and Esther. Now they were Jewish people living in the kingdom, and somehow Mordecai became an official. Doesn't really explain how. So here's Xerxes. He's been partying. He's got this huge empire. Xerxes is not a good king. He's a despot. He's very violent and scary. You don't cross Xerxes, he will just kill you. So as they're partying and he's feeling really good and he's like, hey, I want to show you my wife. Call Vashti in here and let's show her off. And Vashti, maybe a little ahead of her time, was like, no. I'm not parading myself in front of all you drunk idiots. I am staying home. And this made him so angry. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? And his officials say, well, listen, Xerxes, word gets out. Not only is this affecting you, it's affecting us. We're not going to be able to control our wives. Imagine that. Not being able to control your wife? What a weird thought, right? No, I mean, he's like, help us. Don't do this. Don't let this happen. Word's going to get out. So Xerxes is like, all right, fine. So I'm going to make a law, the law of the Medes and Persians. You've heard that term before? You've never heard of law of Medes and Persians? Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's people still, well, some people, evidently not in New England, some people still use that terminology today. It just means irrevocable, right? So he made this irrevocable law as king because what he said, he was basically a god and his kingdom. People had to worship him as such. And he's like, he kicked Vashti to the curb. He didn't kill her, but he did away with her. Of course, he's got a lot of women in his harem. But anyway. So then the next day or so, as he's kind of sobering up, he's like, oh man, what did I do? Vashti was amazing. She was beautiful. She was smart. She was funny. Now she's gone. Now, the advisors are feeling a little bit like, we got to come up with something, man, because it was kind of our idea, too, to get rid of her. So we need to do something. So he's like, hey, king, no problem. Listen, you got this huge kingdom. Let's gather all the young virgins, all the beautiful young virgins, and let's bring them into their harem, and then you can pick one for queen. And Xerxes says, me likey. So they collect all the virgins in the kingdom that were attractive, obviously, and bring them into the harem. And one of those happened to be Esther. Now, her Hebrew name was Hadaris. And by the way, Xerxes, his Hebrew name was Ahasuerus. It's a Hebrew, I'm not saying it quite, I'm anglicizing it, but it's, some translations say Ahasuerus and others say Xerxes. Same guy, just one's a Persian name, one's a Hebrew name. Xerxes being Persian. So Esther is one of these, and she's really, really beautiful. And she's very smart, and she's obviously got a great personality. And she wins over the hearts of all the eunuchs. So they just love her. They just think that she's great. So they start promoting her to the king, and the king makes Esther the queen. So now Queen Esther, who is Mordecai's cousin. Now this is why I'm talking about this today. Because Mordecai and Esther are cousins. But Mordecai adopts Esther when her parents die. Doesn't say why she died, but he adopted her and raised her as his own. And he did an amazing job. So he has a special relationship with Esther, obviously, because it's his daughter as well. But he tells her, don't let anyone know that you're Jewish. Because Jews were monotheistic, still are. And the empire was not. They were polytheistic, and it's just like, let's keep this all to ourselves right now. They'll find out soon enough. So she said, okay, no problem. So this is this beautiful drama that's unfolding, right? And so what we've got is, in this, where she becomes queen, she keeps Jewish. Curtains close, the next scene comes up. Mordecai's hanging out he's an official, he's hanging out by the city gates, is what they did. A bunch of officials, they'd debate stuff, they'd hang out. And they're talking and doing all this. And Mordecai hears these guys talking about a plot to kill Xerxes. He's a despot. They can't stand the guy. He's mean, he's cruel. We're going to kill him. And he hears about it, so he tells Esther, and Esther, of course, tells Xerxes. And Xerxes finds out about it, and he's like, really? Investigates, sure enough, he finds the conspirators, has them killed. And now he says, I want you to put this into the history books. Mordecai saved my life. Great. End of scene 3. Curtain falls. A very short scene, right? But it's a very important scene. Because what happens next, so in the drama, Mordecai's a protagonist. We know what that is. It's the good guy, right? Esther is a protagonist. She's a good person, right? She's one of the good guys. Next scene opens up, and you got a guy named Haman. Haman is the antagonist. He's the one with the dark top hat and the long bicycle mustache who's all hunched over. And when the curtains open, everyone's like, boo. Haman is a very wicked guy. He's arrogant. He's the right-hand man to Xerxes. And there's a law that everyone has to bow down, obviously to the king, but then also to Haman as the right-hand man. But guess who's not going to bow down to another man? Mordecai. So Haman's walking around the citadel, and everyone's like, oh, and then Mordecai's just standing there like, nope, I'm not doing it. And he's like, Haman hates Mordecai. He's full of rage. And he comes home one night, and he's like, dear, talking to his wife, I don't know what to do with this guy. He's a menace. He's horrible. He has no respect. I am second in command to Xerxes, the greatest king who ever ruled, and yet he won't even bow down to me. And she says, well, just kill him. Well, that's an idea. No, don't just kill him. Make a spectacle of him. Impale him and put him on a stick 75 feet tall. And Haman's like, ooh. Me like it. He's conspirating. He's like, this sounds great. I love this idea. But he started thinking, he goes, not only is Mordecai a problem, but all these Jews are a problem. Because none of them are going to bow down. None of them will bow down. Not only do I hate Mordecai, I am going to wipe out all the Jews in the kingdom. Ethnically cleanse this place of all the Jews. Twirling. He's like, someone grab some Purim. Purim in the Hebrew. Purim was basically little stones, like casting lots. You've heard that term before? It was like drawing straws, casting lots. It's a way that chance or God would communicate his will, right? So what they did is they would throw these stones, and then the stones would determine different things. They would draw straws, and the short straw would get, those kind of things. Jonah They were casting lots. He got thrown out of the ship, that kind of thing. You remember Jonah, right? Yeah, anyway. So this is the celebration of Purim that's still celebrated today. It comes from this passage. So what happened was that they decided that they were going to begin the executions a year from now, in March, from this time. So they had a year. And they were all excited. In the meantime, that night, Xerxes can't sleep. He's just having it's 2 o'clock in the morning. He's laying there. We've all had this experience, right? It's like, so he's like, I got to do something. So he grabs a history book, the history of Persia, one of the books. He says, if anything will make me pass out, it's reading history. So he starts reading, and he reads over the story of how Mordecai saved his life. He's like, hey, guys, and his attendants are all standing around. He's like, guys, come here. Did we ever celebrate Mordecai? Did we ever do anything for Mordecai? I'm like, no, we never did anything. And it's like, oh, man, I got to do something for Mordecai. He saved my life. This guy's amazing. He says, where's Haman? They're like, oh, well, go grab Haman. I got to ask him what to do. So they grab Haman. Haman's like, yes, king, what do you need? He's like, I can't sleep. I've been thinking. What do you do for a guy who's just fantastic, amazing, a guy who needs to be lauded? And Haman's like, well, obviously he's talking about me. And he's like, well, what you do is you put on your royal robes, all the clothes, you dress him up like royalty, put something on his head, put him on your best horse, and you parade him around the citadel saying, this is how the king celebrates his favorite. And Xerxes like, oh, great idea, Haman. Listen, grab Mordecai. And Haman's like, wait, what? Yeah, grab Mordecai. I want you to do exactly as you told me. Now, the king has no idea that Haman hates him, has no idea what's going on. So Haman is just fuming. He has to dress Mordecai, his enemy. He hates Mordecai. Put him on the horse, and he's got to lead the horse yelling, this is what the king does for the servants he loves, all throughout the citadel. And everybody knows Haman hates Mordecai because Mordecai won't bow down. And now he's really like, not only am I rejected, and now I'm a little bit nervous, like now what? How do I do this? In the meantime, Esther, the very attractive queen, is cuddling up to the king. And he's like, you are amazing, and I love you so much. What do you want? I'll give you half the kingdom. What do you want? He says, well, honey, I want to throw you a party, you and Haman, because Haman's such a great guy. And the king's like, oh, Vashti never threw me a party. Oh, fantastic. God, I knew I loved you. Yes, a party for me and Haman. That sounds fantastic. So she arranged this huge party, and they're partying, and they're having a great time. And the king is holding, he goes, listen, honey, I told you, I love you so much. This is fantastic. This party is awesome. Tell you, so what do you want? Honey, what do you want? Anything. Half the kingdom can be yours. And she goes, I want Haman. He's plotted to kill me and all my people. And the king's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And she explains what's going on. He's like, oh, he's ticked. He's like, oh. So he leaves looking for Haman. Haman's on the other side. He knows what's happening. He runs into the room. He's like, please, please, Esther, save me. He's clinging on to her. The king comes back and he's like, what are you doing? Now you attacked my wife? Now the king's like freaking out because he thinks that Haman is attacking Esther. And he has him, he ends up on the stick that he made for Mordecai. Yeah. They were brutal people, okay? The king was anyway. And to this day, this is celebrated, right? Because she saved all the people in the kingdom from India all the way down to Ethiopia's huge kingdom. Now, why do I say this on Father's Day? It's because we as fathers have an opportunity. Being a good father, a a good grandfather, a good stepfather, a good replacement father, whatever, a good man who is being fatherly to a child. The thing being that, the legacy of that can last for generations. The opportunity to invest your life. You see, there's a difference between moms and dads. And dads, we can do our best if we don't have someone, if we've lost someone, or we're a single father, or if we're a single mother, we can't offer. So it's like, we can do our best to be the other, but we need other people. We need that influence of a father and of a mother. And dads, sometimes we get caught up in working, we get caught up in providing, we get caught up in doing our whatever those things are. And it's just like, they'll be fine. They got a great mom. But the thing is that every child needs that attention. They need that, something that a dad can give. And when we do it well, that legacy continues on. I used to be in youth ministry. I was in youth ministry for years. And I've seen the results of good parenting. And I've seen the results of not great parenting. It's like, and it's never too late to start. It's never too late to start. Because all of us, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Absolutely not. I say this all the time. God was perfect, and Adam and Eve messed up, okay? The first two kids on earth. And he was a perfect parent, all right? So we're not perfect, so we're not going to do things perfectly, but what we are and what we can be is humble. And when we do make poor choices and we do make mistakes, we can go to that child or that adult and apologize for the things that we did that we could have done differently. The things that, we look back and it's like, oh man, maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have done this instead. Or all kinds of feelings. And I talked to so many parents that have the weight of guilt and shame. And shame is not from God. And it's like, if I could just do it differently. It's like, you can start doing it differently now. It's never too late. Never. As long as there's breath in your lungs, you can make changes. And you can be the person that the child or the grandchildren or the steps, and there's so many mixed families today that are so huge, and the opportunity to have influence on so many is so amazing. And I used to have arguments with people in church. I have 4 kids. Love my kids to death. But they didn't always behave. I know it's shocking. The pastor's kids with children that misbehaved. Yeah, it happens. As a matter of fact, I think sometimes it happens more to them than to others at times. And I would get in these arguments because they're like, I had this one guy come in, he goes, if my son ever said that or did that, I would have took his door off his room, and I would have took off his blankets, he would have had a pillow and a mattress, and he says, you need to go in there and do that. And I'm like, yeah, I appreciate your ideas, but you don't know my situation. You don't know my children. Maybe that works for your kids. I'm not judging, but that's not going to work for my kids. See, because I got to stand before God someday and give an account to how I've parented. So I talk to God and try to allow God to give me ideas, give me understanding. What we need to do is be humble enough just to say, God, show me how. No matter where we are in life, show me how. And that legacy can live on for generations. All right, dads, I'm letting you out early. So let's pray. Lord God, we thank you